Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Adventurers Out There, Sci-Fi, Fantasy, Horror, and More. I'm Susan McGuire, Senior Editor of Collection Management and Library Outreach here at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You may also ask for the links in the Q&A box, and we would be happy to share them with you. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. If you are hearing an echo, please check to see if you have two Zoom windows open. Closing one of those windows will remove that echo. We apologize for this technical glitch and we are working with Zoom to fix it. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting caption settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Morgana Santilli and Ingrid Lorenzi, Sales Specialist and Sales and Marketing Coordinator, both at Yen Press, Elham Ali, Trade Marketing Manager at ECW Press, Amanda Cromarco, Director of Library Marketing at Macmillan, and Lainey Mays, Library Marketing Senior Manager at HarperCollins. First, we'll hear from Morgana Santilli and Ingrid Lorenzi. Morgana is the Sales Specialist at Yen Press. She is a former comic shop manager and buyer and always particularly loved helping readers find their new favorite series. Other than reading manga, Morgana enjoys drinking lots of tea, snuggling with her two black cats, crocheting, and collecting too many books for her children's personal library. Ingrid is the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Yen Press. A former bookseller and used book buyer at Strand Books, she is an avid fantasy reader and advocate for translated works. Aside from collecting old books and trying to win over her cat section, she spends her days scavenging for the best bubble tea places in New York, in the city, and taking strolls in Central Park. Thank you for joining us, Morgana and Ingrid.
Thanks so much, Susan, and thank you everybody for joining us. Hello, once again, my name is Morgana, and today I'm joined by my colleague, Ingrid.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us today. My name is Ingrid. I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Yen Press.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Yen Press, just a quick overview. We are perhaps best known as a manga publisher. However, we also publish Korean comics, novels from Japan and Korea and China, as well as original graphic novels. And today we're going to start and just talk a little bit about a few of the genres that this webinar are all about. So next slide, please. And Ingrid's going to start us off.
All right, adventure is out there, and there is no better adventure than horror, in my opinion. Next slide, please. So you might be more familiar, as Morgana mentioned, with our manga and manhwa offerings. But if you weren't aware, we do publish novels as well. And speaking about novels, there is one in particular that you should pay close attention to, and that is About a Place in the Kinki Region. Next slide, please. So if you're a reader and a lover of Sisuji, so Strange Houses, Strange Buildings, that series, really more into creepypastas and found footage stories, then you must pick up this title. The story of About a Place in the Kinki Region follows a young man who is dead set on discovering what happened to his dear friend, an editor, that kind of mysteriously vanished as he was doing some research on this very remote part of Japan. And we all know that sometimes you really shouldn't poke your nose into stuff you aren't really sure about or you don't really understand. Stuff that actually kind of reeks of the supernatural. So the story is pretty much about the reader / the protagonist trying to pick up the pieces and find out what really happened. And to make this reading experience more immersive. A Better Place in Kiki region also comes with a sealed package at the very end of the book. And this sealed package contains the clippings and photographs and very creepy drawings that really drives into the experience of trying to piece everything together of the transcripts that you find in the book. So really, it's very much driving the mockumentary aspect of the title. We released About a Place in Kinky region at the beginning of the year, but in my opinion, it's never too late to add it to your summer rotation. In fact, if you're like me and you're in a very much summer wind mood, I think this is the perfect book to have next to your shelf on your bedroom. Next slide, please. Another offering that we want to talk about is Seeds of Anxiety. So if you have heard about PTSD Radio and loved it, then you're in luck. This July, we are releasing Seeds of Anxiety, a new series from the same author. If you haven't heard of PTSD Radio, but horror stories are kind of your thing, then you're absolutely going to love Seeds of Anxiety. Next slide, please. So Seeds of Anxiety has a lot going on. It's not a thick volume, it's under 200 pages, but within it, you're going to experience short stories about kind of being followed home, mysterious night buses that take you wherever you don't actually know, sleep paralysis, faces coming alive in walls, and so on and so forth. One of my favorite stories is about a mannequin inside a store, because have you ever wondered if a person could be actually stuck inside a mannequin, but they don't have any means necessary to scream out loud and ask for help? Next slide, please. So simply put, it's a great collection of short stories that kind of looks at the mundane and tries to find that horror element, those little moments of dread that kind of send a chill down your spine. So the first volume of this series is coming out this July, and don't forget to check it out. The second volume is going to release at the end of the year, I believe this December. So really something to keep you going during these hot days, just a little bit of shock. Next slide, please. So looking ahead at fall, we first have N. This is a horror/mystery manga releasing this October. I find N very interesting because unlike other horror manga titles where the focus is the monster, the focus of N instead is the creeping sense of dread that something is really going wrong, terribly, terribly wrong. Next slide, please. So essentially, N follows just how the protagonist deals and gets more entrenched in N. A mysterious urban legend that kind of turns more into a cult and runs things behind the scenes. There is a lot of cases that come together, like an entire classroom getting massacred, a brother just trying to find his sister. It's kind of creepy, but it's all tied together because there is this cult organization behind it. I want to mention that there are horror elements, supernatural horror elements inside, but I think you should pick up this series not so much for those, but rather the psychological terror thrown into the mix. Next slide, please. So definitely it's a read that I would recommend for fans of Stephen King or people that are more into the human factor, what really is dreading, what really is pulling behind the scenes. Not so much the monster, but sometimes the worst thing that could happen is a crazy person. Next slide, please. So coming out this November, we have the first volume of He Was My Brother. We have all heard about the phrase, a ghost that keeps haunting the narrative, but in this case, it's quite literal. Next slide, please. So in He Was My Brother, we have three main characters. The first one, the novelist, who is going through heartbreak because his male lover recently died. the sister of the deceased, who is actually falling in love with the novelist. And then the actual deceased turned ghost, who simply cannot get enough and cannot let go of his romance, and it just becomes an obsession. So really, it's a rather nasty love triangle where you don't really know who to cheer for because, spoiler alert, the sister is actually also insane. She's not a viable option. No, that's not a good option, honestly. Next slide, please. I want to mention that at the beginning of the slide for this title, you might have seen Jose and BL. BL meaning boys love, it just means a gay relationship. And for this title in particular, I wouldn't give it to you as a boys love title. I don't think it is. It has the queer element of the brother and novelist relationship, but I think it's better to look at He Was My Brother as a psychological horror with the BL elements thrown into the mix. The series is also wrapping up in Japan. I believe there are 9 volumes out right now, but it's set to be complete in 10 volumes. So it's not going to be very long. It's going to fit quite well on your shelves. Next slide, please. So lastly, for my section, I just want to mention Shigaime. So if you like your horror sexy and with teeth, then Shigaime is the title to check out. Next slide, please. So how does familiars, vampires, a master-servant relationship, and splatter gore sound to you? If that doesn't scare you away, then you're going to have the most awesome ride with Shigaime, as it delivers all of that, plus plenty of sexually charged moments. The art for Shigaime, as you can see here, is amazing. I just love it. For me, it's a little bit of a mixture between the RCL Midnight Children and High School of the Dead. It is very aesthetically pleasing, very strong, so it has... I just feel that it's one of those horror that really grips you, just not only for the story, but also because of its stylistic choice. Next slide, please. Shigaime is going to be quite short. It's going to be only 2 volumes, but please take note that each individual volume is going to be quite big because it's 5 in 1. So short series, but the volumes are going to be a little bit massive. And then I will just hand it over to Morgana.
Thanks so much. Next slide, please. I'm going to take you through one of my favorite genres real quick, which is horror comedy. I like my scary stuff with a little bit of a laugh. Next slide, please. The first title I want to talk about is 2 a.m. at the Dining Table. This comes out in October, right in time for Halloween. I'm really, really excited about this. This story is about a young girl named Maria whose mother has passed away, but every night at 2 a.m., somebody sets the table for breakfast. Next slide, please. It is not Maria's mother. It is, in fact, a really cute girl ghost. I love the artwork here. As you can see, it kind of has some classic art style elements. They remind me of girls' horror comics, specifically Japanese girls' horror comics of like the 80s and 90s. And you have this situation where Maria and the ghost form a friendship that blossoms into something a little bit more. So next slide, please. We have found that girls' love, essentially romances between 2 female characters, have been extremely popular right now in manga. I don't know how many of you manage your graphic novel section at your library, but if you're familiar with The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All, that has been far and away one of our bestsellers for the last year and some change. And we have seen that there's a lot of demand for queer romances, and specifically girls love romances. And horror is also very popular. So this kind of blends 2 of the biggest, hottest genres right now into one wonderfully funny and creepy package. Next slide, please. And next, Noninakari. This is a single omnibus that we're collecting. This is very much in the same vein. This one's coming out later in November in time for Thanksgiving, so early Christmas. Next slide, please. In this story, Akari moves to a spooky old house and she's not very excited about it until she meets Non. Non is a cursed doll. Non, in her creepy cursed doll way, says that she wants to be with Akari forever. And Akari says, great, let's be besties. So there's, again, that healthy dose of creepy, haunted doll horror with that humorous twist. Next slide, please. And this one is also a girls' love series. So once again, we're blending that those two very popular genres. Really great, again, for fans of kind of classic manga, as this also has a bit of a callback art style that I'm really interested in. Oops. All right, well, perfect. Now I'm going to go right into Servant Beast. We're going to go into fantasy. Next slide, please. Excellent. So now we have Servant Beast. This is a new offering from Suzuka Morino, whose work we've recently released. I'm very, very excited about this because she has some of the most incredible artwork. Next slide, please. So this story follows Hal, a beast man who is sold as a servant or familiar to the Bone Witch. And the Bone Witch is known for being very sinister. Everybody's really, really scared of her. But Hal has such an earnest and charming nature, and he's so eager to please and help that he kind of starts to warm the Bone Witch's icy heart. So they have this blossoming friendship that comes through. And as you can see, Suzuka Morino has the most incredible ability to render these animalistic humanoids in incredible detail. Next slide, please. Suzuka Morino's work has been featured in Harta magazine, which is the magazine that published Delicious in Dungeon, which is one of our huge successes, especially following its anime adaptation. And also fantasy manga in general, much like horror and girls' love, is very much on the rise. Next slide, please, and I'm going to wrap it up real quick with just a shout out for The Dragon Schools Atop the Mountain and Terrarium in a Drawer. These are two short story collections from Ryoko Kui, creator of Delicious in Dungeon. So if you have patrons who are fans of Delicious in Dungeon, either through the manga or through the anime adaptation that's on Netflix, this is a great thing to hand them, as it has some of her early works as well, so fans can enjoy that. But I also think it's a great introduction to her work and also to this fantasy world that she has created. Next slide, please. That's it from us. Thank you so, so much for joining. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and email us, and we'll move right on.
Thank you so much, Team Yen Press. Next, we'll hear from Elham Ali. Elham graduated from the University of Toronto in 2014, and since completing the Humber College publishing program, she has worked in marketing and publicity roles at Canada's Ballet Yorgan, Penguin Random House Canada, and Dundurn Press. She joined ECW Press as senior publicist in 2020 and has been serving as the trade marketing manager since 2024. Thank you so much for being here today, Elham.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today to talk to you about ECW Press and some of our sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure titles. If you don't know us, ECW is one of Canada's oldest independent presses. We've been around for 50 years and done over 1,000 books in that time, and that includes a lot of sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure, but it's only since 2021 that we really dedicated a lot of editorial time and effort to expanding those lists. So I'm really excited to talk to you about some of the great titles we have coming this year. Next slide, please. So we're starting with some sci-fi. Next slide. The first title is Lavender Spike by Rachel Tremblay. Rachel is a multidisciplinary artist based out of Montreal who actually designed her own book cover. She has self-published 4 books in the past, but this is her traditional publishing debut. And so we're really thrilled to be able to be introducing her to new sci-fi readers and audiences. This is an incredibly richly layered cyberpunk story that, if you can imagine combining the vibes of Netflix's Arcane with the intrigue of the Trader Baru Cormorant, this is what you get in Lavender Spike, set in a really vivid Technicolor post-apocalypse that's unlike anything you've ever read before. The book is set in a world where art has replaced religion. So artists are the new priests, galleries are the new temples, and faith is really about achieving a sensory ecstasy. We follow Izzy, who is a purist painter struggling to survive by selling her paintings illegally, when one day her studio is ransacked. And so Izzy is pulled into the world of the Half-Light Rebels, an underground collective of outcasts who despise art and want to overthrow the new art government. Izzy's ready to lead the revolution, but when their plans go awry, she's arrested and given a choice. Either convert to the new order and work for the government or rot in prison. And while she does accept, and this new world that she is introduced to is intoxicating, Izzy has to decide, is she willing to pay that cost? Is she willing to fall in line and use her art for evil, or will she rise up with the rebellion? This is a great book for grown-up fans of the Hunger Games who are looking for a new dystopian sci-fi that will challenge the norms of our world, but in a really complex and interesting way. It sounds like this book is just about art, but really it tackles issues like digital addiction, capitalism, tribalist thinking, authoritarianism, oligarchy, and theocracy. The book has received some really great reviews. One of the best being from New York Times bestselling author Jason Pargin, who wrote John Dies at the End, who said that Lavender Spike is the rarest thing in fiction, a truly unique dystopia, one that shuns simple allegory and plays by its own strange and fascinating set of rules. This has recently just came out on June 23rd, so we have finished copies available if you're interested in reading them. Next slide, please. This is another adult sci-fi, this one coming out on October 27th. Our Infinite and Inevitable Ends by A.D. Sway is a sapphic cli-fi thriller by a rising star in the genre. You may know them from their novel The Iron Garden Sutra, which just came out earlier this year, or their Nebula Award-winning novella The Dragonfly Gambit. Set in a terrifyingly near future where the climate has been decimated, we follow scientist Dr. Cassandra Barlow, who spends her days studying plastic-eating fungi on a giant island of floating trash in the Pacific Ocean. She spends her days but really she's just trying to forget her ex. Her ex is Dr. Jana Gulsvig, the world's leading expert on a drug called Deliria that allows you to time hop and kind of see a window into alternate dimensions and timelines. But when Yana is killed in an explosion that destroys her research, Cass is arrested for domestic terrorism and forced to help with the investigation. And to do that, she turns to Deliria for answers. What she finds instead are so many perfect alternate worlds, ones where the climate collapse has been avoided and where Yana is still alive and they're still in love. But the more that Cass chases answers in these perfect realities, the more her addiction to the drug grows until she's forced to choose. Is she willing to chase closure right to the brink of her own sanity, or can she accept the imperfect now in order to fight for a better future? While it has the fast pace and urgency of a thriller, Our Infinite and Inevitable Ends is really a sapphic love story about the seductive power of what ifs and our very real obsession with finding magic fixes to all our problems, everything from climate change to our own broken relationships. It asks us to really look at why we're always trying to find magic bullets rather than do the hard, incremental work of solving our problems. We've gotten some really glowing reader reviews for this book, and I think reader Brittany G really put it best in her NetGalley review. She said, A.D. Sway has written a novel that is, all at once, a sapphic, otherworldly, terrifying, heartfelt, mysterious, post-apocalyptic eco-fiction. Sway's novel is gorgeous. What they've written is smart without being pretentious, and there's a message here, several really, that are equally timeless and timely. I'll be thinking about this one for a while, and you will too. We have advanced copies of this one available now. Next slide, please. So now we're moving into fantasy, and the two titles I want to talk about are both YA fantasy. Next slide. The first is The Call of the Rift Fuse by Jay Waller. The Call of the Rift is an epic high fantasy series set in a lush rainforest, in the lush mountains and rainforest of the Pacific Northwest. If you can imagine, Philip Pullman meets James Cameron's Avatar. This is the last book in a series uh, um, that began in 2018. Um, Call of the Rift has been doing multiverses since before they were cool. The series follows Katiko Rin, a teenage girl with the power to shapeshift and control water, as she grows up in a war-torn coastal rainforest where she discovers a rift that splits her world into separate timelines. As the worlds diverge, new versions of herself come into existence, like the orphan Kako, who takes up arms to protect her people, whereas Katya finds purpose as a healer. In this final installment in the series, Katiko faces her toughest challenge yet. Kay is a version of herself that's been warped by the war completely. But the girls find that the rift is collapsing, and their many worlds are not only colliding, they're destroying each other. So these girls who are the same person, but are so, so different, will have to team up in order to save all of their worlds before it's too late. The series has received glowing starred reviews since it began. Kirkus called the first book, Flight, a stunning debut, intricately lush and well crafted. And so while I am pitching the last book today, what I really hope is that people, fantasy lovers who are looking for a new series to dive into, will start with the first one and give the series a chance. If you're interested in exceptional original work that has incredible world building and great characters, please do reach out. I'm happy to share the whole series with you. Next slide. The Sleuth of Farron City is the third installment in SM Biko's really lovely, warm-hearted Brindlewatch quintet. Each book in this series is a standalone. They just exist in the same world. That world is Brindlewatch. It's a lot like ours, except that in Brindlewatch, monsters are real, but they're not hunting people or being hunted. They are an emerging group of citizens just trying to find their place in society. Our main character, Sable, is one of those monsters. She's a kind of snake girl with shifting colored scales and two mouths, but she's also shy and bookish and almost never leaves the safety of her reading room. But one day she gets a desperate letter from a friend, and so Sable must travel to Farron City, a growing metropolis where many of the city's newly immigrated monsters are going missing, and step into the role of detective in her own story. The Sleuth of Farron City is joyful and charming, and it's a really lovely romance. The series Every book in the series has a lovely romance at its heart. I like to pitch them to readers as like an intro to monster romance, which I find that a lot of librarians have responded well to because they have an audience of young readers who want to read YA romance, but with none of the spice. And so this is more of a warm glow rather than the heat of romance. We'd recommend it for readers age 12 and up. Kirkus gave the first and second book in the series starred reviews and recommended them for fans of Diana Wynne Jones and TJ Klune. So if you love those books, I hope that you'll give this one a chance. This is just released on June 30th, and ECW produced the audiobook as well. Next slide, please. And finally, I know that this is about sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure, but I did want to recommend one nonfiction book. Next slide. It's Only Forever by Jess Battist is a critical analysis of one of the greatest cult classic works of fantasy, Labyrinth. For over 40 years, Jim Henson's musical magical fantasy Labyrinth has captivated imaginations and transformed from a box office flop into an enormous cult classic that's still celebrated today. And in this latest pop classic, author and academic Jess Battist explores that immense cultural impact, blending history, analysis, and memoir to uncover Labyrinth's enduring magic. Battist argues that the film is really an 80s time capsule that offered its young audience an alternative to the conservatism and soulless economics of the era. But its staying power is really in the fact that the film speaks directly to misfits and that made it a love letter and a secret gift to queer and neurodivergent kids and adults. When Sarah, played by a teenage Jennifer Connelly, faces down the king and exclaims, "You have no power over me," she is everyone who has ever felt marginalized, everyone who's ever turned to goblins over political toxicity. Jess, like I said, is a queer and autistic academic who teaches queer and trans studies, medieval literature, and representations of disability and neurodiversity in pop culture at the University of Regina. They're also the author of The Winter Night, a urban fantasy and romance that ECW published a few years ago. It's the latest in our pop classics, a series of tiny books that pack a big punch and offer intelligent, fun, and accessible arguments about why your favorite work of pop culture matters. Um, I have just a few examples, recent examples on screen, but this is book 17 in a series that covers everything from Borderlands to The Bachelor. Next slide, please. So before I go, I just wanted to talk very briefly, having just come back from ALA, I wanted to give a bit of information about our ECW's commitment to libraries, and share a bit about our library program and how we want to make sure that all readers can access our books as easily as possible. We're committed to fair pricing, flexible lending models, accessibility, and collaboration with libraries, again, to make sure that any reader can access any book in any format they want as easily as possible. And we know that libraries are really, really key in making that happen. So you have a bit more information there. But if you go to the next slide, there's also some contact information. If you want to stay up to date on ECW titles, you can sign up for our newsletter, check out our catalogs, or favorite us on NetGalley. If you ever have any questions or want reading copies, please do reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. Next slide. And thank you so, so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Elham. Next, we'll hear from Amanda Cremarco. Amanda is the Director of Library Marketing. After saying farewell to her home state of Georgia and attending NYU's Summer Publishing Institute, Amanda joined the library marketing world and never looked back. A longtime lover of libraries, Amanda loves to share her passion for all things fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and horror, but she'll read anything that comes with a good recommendation. The floor is yours, Amanda.
Thanks, Susan. Like she said, I'm Amanda Cremarco with Macmillan Publishers. First up, just some quick housekeeping. Here are all the places you can find us on the internet. Please follow us or sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date on all the great news and activities from the MacLib team. Next slide, please. Many of the titles that we'll be talking about today already are or will be available to read on Edelweiss. But if you're not already waitlisted for automatic downloads, you can shoot me an email at this email address on your screen, and I'm happy to hook you up. Next slide. If you want to hear about forthcoming titles more regularly, Happy Half Hour is our weekly book talking series that happens Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we talk about upcoming adult and YA titles, along with some other fun banter. So we'll see you there. And now on to the books. Next slide, please. My first title is Strange is the Light by Sarah Maria Griffin. This follows a group of estranged childhood friends as they are called back to the island where they spent their summers. It's time to play the next round of an uncanny tabletop RPG with a mind of its own and a dangerously real cost to losing. Like a rare, fascinating combination of Yellow Jackets, Stranger Things, and Conversations with Friends. This is a crossover dream for a reader hungry for authentically chaotic groups of friends, and some toxic relationships with a dreamy and otherworldly slant. This book really delivers a shot right to the heart of readers that are on the hunt for books that target an eerily familiar real-world set of issues. Next is Wickhills by Prima Muhammad. This is a gripping fantasy thriller from the Nebula, World Fantasy, Ignite, Locust, and Aurora Award-winning Indo-Caribbean scientist and speculative fiction author. This is about a secret agent trying to protect an apocalypse-level magical weapon. A Starred Library Journal review says this gaslamp urban fantasy combines an exciting adventure, a walk through dangerous secret places, and one man's crisis. The pace is relentless, the characters are unreliable at every turn, and the stakes are high with every step. I would recommend it to lovers of gaslit fantasy, epic political machinations, or hidden motives, and anyone who has wondered what a fantasy version of Green City Wars by Adrian Tchaikovsky would look like. Next is I Am the Monster Under the Bed. Some of Willa's fondest childhood memories are of the invisible thing that lived under her bed. Now she's an adult and has escaped her small town. As the only survivor of an unsolved tragedy where 6 teenagers died in the woods, everyone thinks she's the murderer. When she reluctantly goes home for a funeral, her past pulls her back to the place where she swore she'd never return, and Willa is drawn towards the monster she left behind and becoming the villain her hometown has always believed her to be. This is a chillingly dark horror novel debut about trauma, secrets, and the terrifying freedom of unleashing our monsters. Next is Bodies of Magic by Freya Marsk. This is a dark academia fantasy from the library's Hall of Famer about 5 healer scholars with 5 secrets and 5 days in which to solve a murder, pass the most important exam of their lives, and uncover a secret larger than all of their own combined. It's Grey's Anatomy meets A Deadly Education, and any fans of the stressed out, breakout hit doctors of the pit will love this fantasy spin. Perfect for dark academia readers who love the Atlas Six, Babel, Scholomance, The Incandescent, and just burnout medical students. Freya is an actual medical doctor, and her personal experience and clinical knowledge make the magical diagnostics and major themes of this book really shine with life and dazzling authenticity. Next is Our Cut of Salt by Dina Helm. This is a debut Gothic horror about 3 generations of Palestinian women who must put the haunting of their ancestral home to rest before the secrets of the past drown them all. The structure weaves past and present as a mother and daughter take a trip to the grandmother's childhood home, but the house has turned into a painful, festering wound that infects everything it touches. The more the daughter digs into her family's past, the sicker she becomes. This is a powerful and intimate look at what it means to make a home, to lose it, to return, only to find it irrevocably changed. It really confronts difficult and timely topics like the ongoing genocide in Palestine, generational trauma, anti-colonialism, and grief. This will be perfect for readers of socially conscious disruptive fiction like Tell Me I'm Worthless and Manhunt, or any horror fan looking for their next favorite haunted house story like Nothing But Blackened Teeth, A House with Good Bones, or We Used to Live Here. Next is Night Jars by Michael W. Hunt. This is Memento meets Dracula. On a rainy first date, Luke's crush vanishes, leaving behind a photo of Luke as a child standing near a corpse and a masked man, an event he doesn't remember. When more photos surface showing Luke covered in blood and posing with murder victims, he spirals back into the paranoia and repressed memories he's fought so hard to leave behind. Haunted by the legacy of his father, a serial killer who bled his victims dry, Luke becomes the prime suspect in a new string of ritualistic slayings. To clear his name, Luke must chase his father's darkness through a centuries-old secret and learn what monsters truly are, and decide if he's one of them. Next is The Lost Guardian by Natalia Hernandez. After the death of his estranged grandfather, a timid historian discovers he is the final living member in a line of guardians sworn to protect the final resting place of the last Incan emperor. Dragged into a world of treasure hunters and grave robbers, he must team up with a beautiful and mysterious adventurer to delve into the secrets of his ancestors and find the lost tomb before it's too late. The author is an Indigenous and Latinx author and loves writing about strong women of color, so I think this is going to be a really fun adventure. Next is It Looks Like You in the Dark by Matilda Zeller. This is a horror debut that expertly blends Native Alaskan folklore and supernatural thrills. It's about a recent high school grad whose sister goes missing, and so she ventures into the Arctic, and what awaits beyond the warmth of her village is more horrible than she could imagine and closer to her than she knows. The story centers on a mythological figure prominent in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska, and while readers can't look away from the monster, but also find themselves staring at the real horror Indigenous people face on a day-to-day basis, making it great for book clubs, so even as readers shiver at the description of the monsters and the embodiment of female rage. Next is Moth's Blood by Lindy Jung. This is a debut dark academia. There's a murder at a university, and the main character and her rivals are drawn into the center of an impossible crime. There's maybe a cult involved, a former mentor, with a secret agenda, dark histories, and quests for power. This is going to be great for fans of Ollie Blake's The Atlas Six, Emma Wong's Blood over Brighthaven, and Lee Bardugo's Ninth House, as well as more literary-leaning fantasy novels like The Starless Sea, Starling House, and Piranesi. Next is Pan by Francesco Dimitri, with several Italian awards and nominations to its name. This book is considered a modern classic in Italy, and we are excited to bring that to the English-speaking world. With this book, it's Greek god Pan blended with a dark fantasy retelling of the story of Peter Pan on the streets of present-day Rome. Magic is returning to the world, and in the skies above the city, children clash with pirates while deities old and new fight for dominance of Rome. Below, the population moves on, oblivious, while the city watches and steels herself for the bloodshed to come. Think When Among Crows by Veronica Roth meets The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Next is The Thrice Bound Fool by Christopher Buehlman. This is the epic, rollicking next chapter in the best-selling fantasy adventure series that began with The Black Tongue Thief. In this sequel, a professional thief and inveterate trickster teams up with Death's sworn handmaiden to decipher a book that could be the key to stopping shadowy tyrants. The Black Tongue Thief has become a mainstay in the fantasy world, plus Christopher Buehlman's Between Two Fires has become a book talk sensation, really only increasing his popularity since book one came out. Next is The Tarot Trials by Katie Robert, from the author of the Dark Olympus series. This is a fast-paced epic fantasy of tarot magic and deadly competition, and of course, a slow burn, tension-filled romance. Kestrel has trained her whole life to compete in the Tarot Trials, a competition her mother once won before being executed for treason against the minor court. If she can master her new powers of shadow and illusion while navigating a poisonous game of alliances and lies, she might be able to corner the fellow champion who killed her mother and uncover the truth without losing her head or her heart. This will be the start to a new series, and fans of Curse of Broadbent and V. Ishwa will want to pick it up. Next is This Wretched Alchemy by Tina Mars. This is a new adult dark romantasy, complete with a slow burn, enemies to lovers romance, and unique world building. In a realm where power lies in god shards, divine fragments that grant extraordinary abilities, Revel is forced into a deadly bargain to atone for avenging her brother's death after he was murdered in pursuit of a shard. She must compete in a deadly contest of heirs and assassinate the realm's most feared warrior. As they race to find the powerful Night Shard, Revel finds her target isn't the monster she expected. With betrayals mounting and desire warring with duty, Revel must decide who to trust in a game where even gods have favorites. Next is The Dragon King by Terry J. Benton Walker. The forbidden royal romance of Red, White, and Royal Blue meets the dragon riding adventure of Fourth Wing. Having abandoned their kingdoms, two princes end up stranded in a dangerous and bewitching wood, and out of desperation, agree to help each other and then go their separate ways. But when a myth as old as the world is awakened, the princes are suddenly at the heart of a crisis so much bigger than they imagined. This is an adult debut full of popcorn-worthy drama with kings behaving badly, dragons coming to collect, witches taking revenge, and a party boy prince on the run. Next is Welcome Home, Mariam by Sanchita Mitra. After returning to her isolated childhood home with no memory of her disappearance, amnesiac Mariam is plagued by vivid hallucinations and sleepwalking horrors while her family and prying neighbors willfully ignore her deterioration. If this is a haunting, then exhumation will require Mariam to remember who she was before, and once she knocks enough dirt loose, her past self might just claw out of the grave to expose the carnivorous truth underneath the house's floorboards. This book is the perfect recommendation for fans of the rural cult in A24's Midsummer, the gothic horror of Sarah Gailey's Just Like Home, and the generational trauma of Sylvia Moreno-Garcia's Mexican Gothic, with an unreliable narrator, a close-knit town with a secret haunted house, and hallucinatory prose that blurs dream and memory. Next is They Bleed Black. This graphic novel is about a family of Black Detroit auto workers who build massive mechs to fight giant monsters bent on destroying the world. When Detroit is attacked, they hijack an unfinished mech to find one of their own. Fighting monsters, the US government, and their own family issues, they travel across a war-ravaged country and right into the middle of a terrible conspiracy. It's a cinematic Afrofuturist family epic with emotional and political depth that will resonate with fans of Attack on Titan, Pacific Rim, and Black Panther. Next is Call Me Traitor by Everina Maxwell. You may be familiar with Everina's previous romantic space adventures, Winter's Orbit and Ocean's Echo, but this is their fantasy debut about a battle mage and a soldier forced to work together to retrieve a group of infamous traitors from exile, only to find out things are not quite so clear-cut, and there's something monstrous out there that does not discriminate between soldiers, traitors, and kings. Call Me Traitor features both Murderbot's deadpan humor and A Deadly Education's voicey narration and perfect match love story. And next, I'm just going to go really quickly through some fan favorites that you may already be on your radar. Deadbeat by Leigh Bardugo. This is the highly anticipated explosive conclusion to the Ninth House trilogy. Victorious by V.E. Schwab returns to her villain series for the epic conclusion, where the arch rivals and their allies will meet for a final time on a chessboard laid out by a rival they didn't expect. Fires of December by Brandon Sanderson is a new standalone novel set in his Cosmere universe, where in a forgotten land sustained by colorful rivers of demon blood, a young woman learns a devastating plague is on its way. Next slide. A Wall is Also a Road by Annalee Newitz is a new thought-provoking and heartwarming sci-fi adventure about an alien who wants to explore life on Earth. Monsters of Ohio by John Scalzi. This is the author of the Kaiju Preservation Society and Starter Villain, and more. And here returns with a heartfelt exploration of a tentacular solution to the struggles of the modern world. Look What the Cat Dragged In by Jason Rekulik is a supernatural thriller about a young woman pet-sitting a cat with a mysterious secret for people who like their horror to come with creepy illustrations. And finally, The Bishop of Durn Attempts to Surrender the City by Susanna Clarke. This is the best-selling and prize-winning author of Piranesi, and this is a beautifully illustrated short story set in the world of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And next slide. That is it for me. Again, here's all of our information, and please reach out if you have any questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Finally, we'll hear from Lainey Mays. Lainey is the Library Marketing Senior Manager at HarperCollins Publishers. She produces their monthly video series, which brings librarians and great books together through interviews with authors, conversations with editors, and presentations of upcoming books. Her job allows her to hang out with librarians all day and talk about books. Can life get much better than that? Take it away, Lainey.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks, everyone at Book List. This has been really great. I feel like my list is growing. I'm sure yours are too, already way packed. So I'm here to talk about a lot of goodies, but on the next slide, you're just going to find kind of resources available. So anything from HarperCollins Adult Library Love Fest group, you can find on our website, librarylovefest.com. But we also have advanced listener copies and e-galleys that we can auto-approve you for. So reach out, let us know. But we also do a lot of author chats once a month. And then we do a galley Gabfest, which is pretty much just this. That's telling you what's coming up, what to be excited for. So you'll find all that information on our website. And I hope you sign up and join us. It's once a month and it's super fun. Okay, next, let's see. I think we're getting right into it. So I've broken them down. And we're going to have a few roundups and a few ones that I dive deeper into. So sci-fi. Okay, great. Next slide. Dan Aykroyd. So this is the legendary actor, Dan Aykroyd. He's making his literary debut. I'm such a fan of his. And it doesn't surprise me that he's written just an amazing book. I mean, he has a lot of screenplay credits, but this one really delivers. He has a long interest in paranormal activity. I'm sure you've seen him out in the ether talking about it, and really just mysteries in general. He has that show, The Unbelievable, on the History Channel. And so he's blended this interest with a thrilling narrative with equal doses of humor and cosmic intrigue. In this, we have Doug Beeston, who's an ordinary insurance adjuster living an unremarkable life with his wife and kids central New York state. And one day, Doug is tapped by alien life forms to do a big mission: go hide human souls they've harvested for mysterious reasons of their own in various locations across Earth, essentially assessing and keeping tabs on them, much like his day job is making him perfect for this. So he embraces the responsibility with a lot of pride, and he believes that it's a crucial role, something far bigger than himself. Then he discovers that he's not just a courier, he's a pawn in our multi-species, silent interdimensional rivalry. So Earth's fate is hanging in the balance. It's like high stakes. There's like a lot of forces shaping our world and commentary on that. And look at that great Dungeon Crawler Quarrel author quote on the screen. So Next is Strange Powers by Ian Jackman. So this is the author and ghostwriter of numerous books, but this is his first and book novel and first foray into science fiction. It's also a trade paperback original. So after centuries of survival aboard a Selene space station in a shadow of Saturn, a forgotten group of humans has evolved in ways Earth could never imagine. Communication with their home planet has been dormant, and a colony is on the verge of collapse. They're going to send a group and a youthful leader, Anna, as emissaries to what Anna and the others can't, but what they don't know is that they're going back to Earth and doing a homecoming, but there's no Earth for them to return to. They go to a shattered Earth. It's still reeling from a catastrophic comet, and they've kind of fractured humanity into these city states, scrambling for any resource that can give them an advantage. Anna is treated as one of the resources with strange powers, so abilities that every Earth leader is eager to get their hands on, and her arrival sets off a chain of events for humanity and perhaps threatens its very survival. It's commercial, plot-driven, very quirky, surreal, very dystopian, and it's perfect for sci-fi readers who want, like, the world building is not as overwhelming for them. Next, we're just quickly going to talk about Becky Chambers, As You Break the Shell. How excited for another Becky Chambers. It's been about 5 years since we've had a novel from her, and this is the start of a new sci-fi duology, large in scope, 2 timelines, 2 women find each other in the vast universe. There's a lot of in-house love for this one. I think people who maybe hadn't read her or don't read sci-fi all the time really came to this. It's our first time in hardcover format, so just to tell you how excited we are. And Becky was the first one to really embrace that cozy speculative fiction and kind of continues to deliver through this out of this world series. And then we have Ascendancy by Emily Hamilton, book 1 in a new series from the authors of The Stars Too Fondly, queer cyberpunk space opera following a butch anarchist rebel pilot and a sword-wielding femme fatale raised in a transhumanist death cult. Clashing ideologies and blazing romance, you may unite humanity and strike its killing blow. It's trade paperback original. Then we have Hell to Pay by Kylie Lee Baker. So, sorry, we're going to do horror and then we're going to, forgot my transition there. So Kylie Baker is the Sunday Times and USA Today bestselling author of Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, Japanese Gothic, and more. Bat Eater was actually a 2025 Shirley Jackson Award, received it for Best Novel this weekend, so big news. She has a lot of fans in the horror space, Grady Hendrix, Paul Tremblay, to name a few, and this book follows 3 roommates with 7 days to pay a debt written in blood. Lenny has a passion can't escape, Emerson's a former surgeon, tormented by the man he used to be, Jasper's a cook with a criminal record, looking for chosen family, and they all just are trying to survive in a city that wants to chew them and spit them out. And as the clock ticks down, the roommates are forced to confront their darkest secrets and the very real monsters that lurk in the shadows. Is the only way to defeat a demon to become one. It's kind of that weird girl horror space alongside Victorian Psycho and The Lamb. And it's got that supernatural kind of like meeting psychological with a fresh perspective on, as all horror comes from a place of truth, housing insecurity. Next, Slay at Home Wife. I love this title, just the cover, everything. So Wendy Dalrymple, her bio says, loves to explore the beauty of horrific things. She's a Florida-based author of feminist, #pink horror, gothic, and romance novels. So it's a dark satirical horror. Mormon Wives meets Desperate Housewives meets A Simple Favor. It's in the quiet suburbs of Florida. Megan lives a perfect life, baking and kind of homesteading for her millions of fans, and her successful rancher husband kind of charms everyone he meets, but his smile hides lies. So pressure mounts, and Megan's perfect life is about to come crashing down. A follower tells her of his secrets. Now, Megan begins plotting the perfect murder. That's all I'll say. Then we're just going to have a quick roundup on the next slide of What the Forest Devours by Elaine Vilhar Mondruga, award-winning horror novel from Latin America. A community of women and children and one man fight for survival in a harsh and terrifying Cuban rainforest where the gods require appeasement through brutal sacrifice. Translated by Kevin Jerry Dunn, The Tyranny of Flies was her first work to receive widespread attention and a big prize in Spain. Then we have The Housemate by J.A. Harwood, The reading line is house hunting is hell, literally. And the author said, if you ever wondered what's worse, ghosts or evil landlords, then this book is for you. It's a cozy horror from the best-selling author about a young woman on the heels of a major breakup who finds a perfect flat share, but maybe there's an unwanted tenant hiding and haunting the building. And there's a little will they, won't they in there as well. And then we have This House Is Not a Home. It's a lot of housing. Maybe that's some some thoughts coming through in this writing lately. This House Is Not a Home, Jessica Lewis, adult debut of Bram Stoker Award nominee, inventive haunted house story with an uncanny twist in which a woman mourning the recent death of her abusive husband takes a housekeeping job with increasingly strange and dangerous tasks. This pulls you in immediately. It's a great read. And then next, a couple of fantasies. We have Eclipse and the Wolf by Akweke Emeze. First time bringing epic fantasy for Akweke. Knockout dark fantasy standalone. And then we have An Edge Sharp Enough by Jessie Q. Santanto. This is a brilliant departure from the novels that made her big, like Dolly for aunties. This is the first book in a dark epic fantasy duology about an assassin, a scholar, and a con man, and a race and a guard and a race to rediscover powerful magic and save the world. And then next, we're going to go on to adventure. So this is a fun one. It's Only a Game by Sam Rebeline. He's the Bram Stoker Award nominated author of Edenville and the short story collection The Poorly Made and Other Things. R.L. Stine said he was a major new talent. So I feel like, don't believe me, believe R.L. Stine. And I love all of his books. He usually writes within this Renfield universe, but this is going to be a standalone, so it's outside of that. It's a horror novel, and it's got this genre-bending fun to it. It's part escape room, part second chance romance, part The Shining, which if all those things go together, you're like, oh, well, let me tell you. It's set in a spooky trader's castle-esque background, and after a breakup a year before, Jillian and Millie are thrown back together for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They've kind of put in this request to play a game, and they did get chosen, but they're broken up. So are they going to go and play it together? It's an invitation to play a legendary 72-hour survival experience with a huge cash prize. Game changes depend on the players. Only one contestant has survived. The team has to go in and solve elaborate puzzles, and now the lines between the game and reality start to blur. There's a really unique twist to the paranormal, I think. And the real horror is being stuck in an empty house with your ex and all the time in the world to review the past. I couldn't stop reading. It's so good, and you're going to want to talk about it because the ending is wild. Next, we have Tomorrow Will Be Prey. This is Anna Poloni. So this is a gothic debut novel. I wish it was a graphic novel. That'd be cool. This is an eerie and atmospheric dual timeline novel that unearths the buried traumas of female lineage across the backdrop of one of France's most enduring legends about the monsters we face and the stories we tell to survive them. It's great for fans of Sarah Perry. It's about Ava. So she's an archivist in the National Library in Paris. So she spends her days digitizing rare manuscripts and avoiding thoughts of her ex-girlfriend. And she discovers the Book of the Beast, an 18th century manuscript recounting the story of a maid who faced the infamous beast of Gévaudan. I'm sure I messed that up. I'm so sorry. But believed to have killed over 100 women and children, the beast's true nature has remained a mystery for centuries. And for Ava, it's eerie. She was told from childhood that one of her ancestors encountered the devil in the form of a beast in the woods, bested in a fight, triggered a generation-spanning curse on the family. So now she's going to steal the manuscript, embark on a journey through France, and get the truth. And then we also see back and forth between her and her ancestor. It's lush, it's heady, it's a fiercely feminist, folklore melds with contemporary, a lot of in-house love for this one, and a great Margot Livesey quote, as you can see. Okay, let's see. Galinda, what else do I have to say? It's the story of ever popular favorite character, and he was on Writers to Watch, and it was great. You have to go back and watch it. For the King, Carissa Weiser, first installment of For the King trilogy. It's a retelling of King Arthur's legend and breathes new life into the classic tale. On the next slide, we have some time travel. This is Daughters of the Wind by Sheila Williams. Book club favorite and acclaimed author of No Better, makes her first foray into the mythical fantasy genre with a tale of legacy, power, sacrifice, and family bonds. Broken Rival by Tessa Bailey. This is something new for best-selling author Tessa Bailey. Sexy time travel romance with a lot of stakes, twists and turns. One girl, and it features two brothers. So how great is it to see something just like time travel, something very different, the time travel space for Tessa Bailey. All right, Night Tide. We're going to go into romantasy. So this is Lexi Ryan. This is our adult romantasy debut. Book one in a sultry gothic-infused tale of magic-wielding princess bound to a shadow-cursed kingdom, dangerously irresistible prince whose secrets could destroy them both. And as she goes, she's kind of tied up in a deal with this person to save her dad, and she picks to go to their kingdom. It's like after school, you pick where you go. She picks there to everyone's surprise, but it might have to do with saving her dad. And when she gets there, the kingdom kind of awakens in their secrets. And it's I was drawn in for the Magical Academy, and I stayed for the royal secrets. It was really, really good. All right, Dream Slayer. I'm going to try to do these quickly. So, A.K. Mulford's Golden Court trilogy. So excited. I loved that series. It was amazing. And now this is her new start to a dark romantic series. It's about a woman who is going to start Ascension. She's going to go protect people fighting nightmares in the dream world. She seeks comfort there and sees a dream warrior. She discovers she's not asleep at all, but rather portal to not the dream realm, but hell. And worse, the woman she's fantasized about for years isn't a dream at all, but a nightmare. And I did hear the word shadow mommy in a launch meeting for this, so I'll leave that there. What lies between? I'm sorry, I think I have one more. I'm going to go very fast. So, a gothic debut fantasy of second chances and forbidden romance. It's a reimagining of Poe's The Telltale Heart with a romantic twist. Yanira has been condemned as a madwoman. She spent 10 years in an asylum for some magic that she holds. And now she's on probation and she wants to expose her sister's murderer and reclaim freedom. She's sent to this big manor with her ex, and she's going to fight for magic to claim all of that and find the truth. And they're like locked in with a poison. They have to find an antidote. It's a wild ride. There's a lot to dive into, but I really enjoyed reading this one. It's sultry. There's a lot at stake. And I think the guilt and grief over her sister is really the heart of this novel. So while it is, romancy, I do think that there is that other layer there. And fan art on the author's site. So go check that out. It's pretty cool. And then, I won't go through these. These are like exciting. They're in your catalog. There's a few more romantasy. There also are some next in the series on the next slide and fall reads coming up. So you have a lot if you don't have something to read, I don't know how to help you. You have a lot in the catalog. Enjoy, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Lainey. And a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Yen Press, ECW Press, Macmillan Library Marketing, and HarperCollins. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.